Okay, here we go. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to this week's episode of Look, Mum, I'm Failing, powered by Song Division, the podcast that interviews full-time professional artists and entrepreneur business owners and business leaders in the search of common themes and ways to endure and perhaps even enjoy the process of failure. I'm your host, Sam McNeil, General Manager of Song Division UK and Europe, singer, songwriter, performer, presenter, host, facilitator, and all-round good guy. My guest this week is Beth Sherman. Beth is a comedian and 7-time Emmy Award-winning writer who has worked on shows like Letterman, The Tonight Show, Ellen, Netflix, Queen Latifah, the Screen Actors Guild Awards, the Oscars, and much, much more. Super excited about this episode. Let's get straight into it.
1, 2, 3, 4! You piece of shit. Look, Mom, I'm failing. Look, Mom, I'm failing. Look, Mom, I'm failing. Hurry up and watch me fall.
Okay, Beth, how are you? Where are you?
Well, this sounds like you're a paramedic and you just come across me.
What's your emergency?
Passed out somewhere. Do you know who's the president? I'm in London, as you can tell from the accent. No, I'm an American in London. My name's Beth Sherman, and I'm a comedian. I spent 30 years as a comedy writer in late night TV in the U.S., and now I live and work in London, and I speak on how to use humor as a tool to build trust and rapport in business, and I do that all over the place.
Amazing. Yeah, we met recently at an industry event, and I got to see a little bit of what you do on stage, and hence why I wanted to connect and have you on the show. Let's dive straight in. I want to know the moment you were not doing what you do for money or for a living, enough money to make a living, to the moment but realize you thought there was something there and you would like to the moment you were making enough money to do it as your sole financial income, what that time period looked like, where you were, what your situation was at the time, and how long that took and what that journey was like.
Well, that's I've danced back and forth over that line over the course of my career, but really so TV writing. So I was a comedy writer for 30 years. It's 29. I'm exaggerating to 30. It's
we'll forgive
29 years, yes. But and of that 15 years, I also did stand-up nights and weekends and hiatus weeks. So whenever the show I was working on, a lot of times they'd have a summer break or we'd have just weeks off over the course of the year. When the crew was off, I would do stand-up in town while the show was filming. And then I would go off and do weeks at comedy clubs across the U.S. when we were off. So, but I went into that straight from, as soon as I could. So when I was about 15, I figured I might be a journalist. I grew up in a family that had a good sense of humor. I grew up obsessed with comedy. It was the 80s and 90s when the stand-up boom was really happening. And I didn't listen to music growing up. I listened to comedy albums, and I just absolutely fell in love with it. I fell in love with stand-up, and most of those albums were recorded live. So it was just the wording and the relationship between the comedian and the audience and the laughter. It's music. And it didn't occur to me, probably because I wasn't listening to anyone that was similar to me, but it didn't occur to me to do it myself. So I figured I'll just enjoy this and I'll go be a journalist, a broadcast journalism, something like that. But when I was about 15 or 16, I saw a TV show that went behind the scenes of a sitcom of a TV show that I really liked. And they showed this magical place called the writer's room.
Right.
And in that room, 10 or so guys, and at that point, most of them were mostly guys, but they were just sitting around a conference table, seemed to be having a lot of fun. And their whole job was, one person would get assigned to... They would figure out the story of that week's show together, and then one person would be assigned to write it from the outline, and then the script would come back into the room. And as a room, their only job was to go line by line and make every line funnier and not just funnier, but funnier in the voice of the character. And 15-year-old me saw that. Like, it blew my mind. That's a job.
That's a job. It doesn't just happen.
That's a job. Someone has that job. You get to sit in a room with other funny people and one-up each other, but in the best way, in a way of sort of, it's like playing for the Yankees or insert the appropriate sports team here. According to whatever continent you're on. So it's playing in the major leagues. And that's all I wanted to do. So I went to university because I kind of had to in my family. My parents were the first in their families to go. So I went. But when I was 20, I finished school and I moved to Los Angeles and I worked my way up, production assistant, writer's assistant, and eventually got opportunities.
Wow.
So that's a very long way of saying
what's that time period? Yeah.
So I started doing it. So it took 3 years to go from production assistant, which is literally gopher.
Yeah.
It's called a gopher because it's go for this, go for that.
Running the teas and coffees and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. We'd like you to go to Starbucks and get 30 lattes. Those are things that happened. I was the one in line in front of you at Starbucks with the Post-it that had
oh God. And they're like, I just want one drink.
Yeah, exactly. And also it was before the internet and it was before fax machines were sort of everyone had them. So it was my job as a PA because what would come out of the writer's room were updated pages.
Yeah,
and it would be the PA's job to drive around Los Angeles, which is not a small place, drive around Los Angeles and make the copies and then deliver the new pages of the script to the actors' doors. So that when they woke up in the morning, they could read the pages while they were drinking their coffee so that when they would show up for the table read or rehearsal at 10, it wasn't the first time they were seeing the material.
Okay. So
I was putting like 600-700 miles a week on my car, never leaving LA.
Yeah, right, just driving around.
Yeah, and that it doesn't sound like it took a long time, but 3 years.
3 years.
Paid dues. Yeah, at the time it felt like a lot, but I was able to be employed. I made a living at the bottom of the food chain doing what I wanted to do.
Okay, and talking generationally, did you, even when you were the gopher, did you love it anyway, just being in the world? Or were you like, this sucks, I've got to just get through this until I get my chance? Because these days you hear about the kids, they don't want to do the crappy job and sweep the offices. They expect to go straight into an important role within a business, and they apparently just won't do it. Was that the case with you, or were you just like, I don't care, I'm just in this world?
I would say yes and no. I mean, 80-20, 90-10. I for the most part, it was so different from, I mean, I had jobs growing up. I worked at the YMCA as a lifeguard and I taught swimming lessons. And in college, I worked the checkout at a grocery store. So, I mean, I had jobs and I knew I didn't want to do those. I mean, I knew those felt like work.
Yep.
But doing the menial labor and getting the vantage point of the job that I wanted, where a lot of the compensation was, yes, but you get a front row seat to see the people who are doing what you think you want to do. I mean, that was intoxicating. I loved that. And I loved the people around me. Obviously, a lot of people didn't last in those jobs because they would come and think they were going to be at the top or this was all going to be fun. And you go, no, this is working till 2 a.m. Yeah. But it became a self-selecting group of people who loved it. And I would probably say it's probably similar to kitchen work. If people work at restaurants, it becomes a family. It becomes your tribe. And also, it was a time in my life, in my early 20s, when being obsessed with something or just what else did I have to do? I didn't have a family to come home to. I didn't have a partner to come home to. I mean, not in a bad way. It's just
you're freed up.
Yeah, that's when you can really put in those hours. Yeah. And once I started, I mean, there were definitely some bumps along the way. It didn't all go swimmingly. Yeah. I know the word failures in your title. I had a chance, and this was a moment where I thought, I think I've just lost the biggest opportunity of my life. So when I was a writer's assistant, so the writer's assistant it's probably all AI now, but at the time, the writer's assistant was, you went from sort of doing all the menial work outside the room to you got to be the one inside the room taking notes. Because all the ideas would pop up, and so you had to sort of keep transcribing everything. Yeah, and then have an ear out for when the head writer said, yeah, maybe that one, yes to that, maybe to that, maybe, yes, no.
Awesome.
Because then they'd go back and you'd want something, what was the thing that Dave said? Hold on.
Tell me someone got it down.
Yeah, exactly. So I was doing that on a series of different shows because they would be in production for a few months or they would just go away. And the studio lot I was working on was also the lot. They did a lot of TV shows there. They also did Seinfeld. And some people that I knew that I wanted to leave the show I was on. And the Seinfeld, they were looking for another writer's assistant.
Wow.
I mean, to be a fly on the wall, to be an American in the 90s, Seinfeld was the pinnacle of the pinnacle. I mean, it still is. I rewatch those. So
same.
I got brought in. Obviously, though, they wanted someone that was really good. But so I got brought in, and it was sort of a group trial. And they needed someone who was fast and accurate with the software, the script software. Now, that was when the thing I hadn't thought about was, at the time, there were two competing script softwares. There was one called Final Draft, and there was one called Screenwriter, something like that. But basically, there was a Mac and there was a PC version. Shermy knew the Mac one real well.
Shermy. For the audience, that's Beth. Okay.
Yes, that was, I'm Shermy quite a bit.
Shermy, what a great name.
Usually pronounced like Kermy.
Shermy.
Kermy. Hey-o, the rock here. So I went in with, even though I'd been working next to their soundstage, I was in their production offices and I was with these other people, and I thought, this is mine. I have to get this. This is the rest of my career. This is the break. And then I found out that it was the other software, and that nightmare where you show up for the test, but you didn't study, you don't know anything about it, and I literally, it was as if they had just, I don't know, brought me in to take, my medical exams, like
or take notes in another language.
Yeah. And so not only did I not do well enough to get the job, it was sort of like, why are you even here? Kind of, it was mortifying. It wasn't you're close and we'll keep you if this guy doesn't work out.
No. But did they appreciate that it was literally a software issue and no one had told you, or was it just no?
Honestly, I don't remember the shame.
Blacked it out.
I don't think they held it against me. I mean, I don't think anyone pointed and laughed, but it was sort of going in and really thinking, look, this is who I want to learn from. I mean, talk about this. This would have been graduate school. This would have been not just graduate school. It would be the knowledge and the cachet and the. Yeah, but something else did come out of that. I think that the person who was the coordinator actually understood, and she did give my name to someone else who was looking for a writer's assistant, a job that I also didn't get. But then that person put me in touch with another job, which was a show called Politically Incorrect, hosted by Bill Maher. And that show had just moved from New York to LA, and they needed a writer's assistant, and it was not union. So their other writer's assistants had eventually become writers because they would sort of learn the show. Right. They hired people that they thought that could someday maybe be writers. So I ended up getting that job, got a nice amount of stuff for an assistant on air. And that's what led to me. I got recommended from that show to a full writer gig on a show, on Rosie O'Donnell's show that was actually back in New York. But that was my first Writers Guild show. That was my first show as a real writer. So
it all worked out.
Yes.
But at the time, it was, this is
Not
it.
a fun afternoon.
Not a fun. Oh, this is what I was looking for on the podcast, and I do feel sort of physically unwell for you at that moment. So thank you.
Well, but it is. It's one of those. Look, and even I was going to say it's because of my age, because I was 21 or 22 at the time, and you don't necessarily have the life experience to even tell yourself.
Yeah, it's going to be okay. Oh, of course not.
Going to be okay. This.
You'll laugh about this one day.
Yeah, I didn't even have that. But
No.
To be honest, if that happened now, I'd still do a number on myself.
Yeah. I want to touch on, a couple of things. LA, and then you mentioned that writer's room and the dream and, getting to one-up each other in the best way possible. Mm-hmm. A two-part question. Is LA... It's where you need to be, I guess, in some senses. Does that make it more difficult or less difficult because of the amount of people trying to do what you're doing and the competition? And I've seen a little bit of that world. I was in LA for a couple of weeks helping young Australian kids who are over there auditioning for Glee and the Disney Channel. I was just the vocal coach, and it was vicious. I didn't do a lot for me. So, can you speak to that? These days, I imagine being a comedian in Arkansas or one of a few that can still get their stuff out there is going to be very successful in a way where you're a bigger fish in a smaller pond. Does that make sense? What was that like?
I mean, I can answer. So in the time that I was there, it was kind of the only game in town. Now, of course, with the internet, I sound like I'm 100. But with social media and everyone's phone is basically a TV station now.
Exactly.
It's a broadcast studio. So I think it's changed. There really isn't a barrier to entry. Mm-hmm. It might be a non-traditional way, but there's not really a barrier to entry. Now, if you so wanted, people do. You just have a YouTube channel, and there's people that have created a reputation. Yep. Just using, from Mr. Beast to just some kid in their bedroom. Yeah. You can just do it yourself. Mm-hmm. At the time I was there, and for most of my career, it New York or LA, that was where all the production was. Mostly mm-hmm. LA. It just depends what type of show, but mostly LA for the kind of shows that I worked on. Mm-hmm. And it gives the city an interesting flavor. I mean, LA is one of those places where the people who come there, you have to have a certain amount of confidence in yourself. Yes. To come from wherever you are, to believe in yourself enough mm-hmm. to pick yourself up and take yourself there. Yeah, just geographically to make the move. Yeah. I mean, I grew up in Philadelphia. I went to college in Boston. They're both 3,000 miles away. Yeah. Which now might be okay for a scene if you're a comedian, your Bill Burrs and whatnot. But I imagine then there was not. Is there one comedy? Is there one stand-up place? Well, I didn't go out there for stand-up. I went out there at the time. I went out there for writing. Right. Okay. But there's a bunch of clubs. I was already a writer before. I didn't have the guts to do it before I'd actually was getting paid to be funny on paper. I see. But I mean, as far as actors and things like that, you had to be there. It's necessary. You have to have that confidence in yourself. And you couldn't put yourself on tape then, which is what people will do now. You can mm-hmm. sort of do it a little bit virtually. You had to sort mm-hmm. of schlep yourself all over the place. But the other thing that does, because these are people who have a lot of confidence in themselves. Yes. Not everyone's confidence is well-founded. Yeah. Not everyone should be as confident as they are. Mm-hmm. But because everyone is so confident, it does create this underlying, arrogance. There's a vibe. Ego, yeah, because you have the people who were the most attractive, most talented, most popular people wherever they grew up, now all squished into the same area, which does mm-hmm. make life interesting sometimes. Mm-hmm. The upside of it, at least when I was there, was that it is kind of a company town. There's lots of other things, lots of other industries in Los Angeles, but entertainment is the big one. And so whatever party you go to, the longer you're there, whatever party you go to or whoever you meet, I mean, that 6 degrees of separation is likely,
of course,
that your paths have crossed with someone that they know. So, and there's a little bit more of a common language. And when you're describing what you do, I mean, I say comedy writer here, and it didn't take here in London, and it didn't take long before I realized no one knows what the heck I'm talking about when I say that. Now, it is London, and the British are very polite, so it did take... No one said, I don't know what you're talking about. Okay. They were much too polite to say it. But I realized I worked on these types of shows, and this is what I did. Because people just go, you're a scriptwriter, or you wrote movies. No, that's not what I did.
No.
It's not totally inaccurate, but it's just not the application.
Yeah. And so the other part of that question was, again, with the sense of competition and the one-upmanship, because I listen to a lot of, I love Conan's podcast, and he often has guests on who've been on SNL. He was obviously on SNL, and he paints a picture of a pretty cutthroat, drug-fueled, high-pressure, everyone just trying to get their joke in. And is he playing up to that, or was that a time?
I mean,
was that a period?
SNL... No, he's not.
Didn't sound like a particularly positive environment for helping each other out.
I think every show has its own culture, because every show is its own workplace. And SNL, Saturday Night Live, for sure, has its own particular culture. And that culture comes from above. I mean, people talk about Lorne Michaels. There's a lot of people that have gone through there. Not every show is like that, but, I also spent... On my resume, if you look at my resume, I have a lot of shows that have a reputation for not necessarily being the most nurturing places.
Right. Slightly toxic.
Yeah. But I've also worked a lot of places that were nice. So I think it depends on the culture of the show. And it depends where people kind of came up. I mean, a lot of people, if their first experiences are places where everyone is, where bad behavior is rewarded, then that's what's normal for them. And if they succeed enough or do well and get the opportunity to be at the top of their own show, then they're going to continue whatever that culture is.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah,
so, I've worked places that were great. I mean, I worked at The Tonight Show.
Yeah.
With Jay
How was
Leno.
that?
I was there 5 years. And it's the nicest place I ever worked.
Really? And that's top down? Jay was a pretty good guy?
Yeah, and I was there. I was there the final 5 years of the show.
Wow!
And so the show had been around for 20-something years, and there were a lot of people that had been there through that time. But one of the things that helped was, Jay is very everyman kind of guy, and very he doesn't think of himself as a celebrity, and it's a very sort of working class. He's a comedian. He's just very. He doesn't take himself too seriously. And also, the show had been around forever. So I think sometimes bad things happen at shows when people are not secure in it.
Yes.
Or when everyone's trying to reinvent the wheel, or when they're getting pressure from the network or the production company or the host to reinvent the wheel. And everyone's stressed, and there's a lot of turnover because of the stress, or because people go, new people will have better ideas.
Yeah, the cortisol's up. Everyone's like, they're coming for my job.
Yeah, exactly. But where I was, they had people that had been there and had some confidence that they would stay there, and the show was doing well. So the vibe was, look, this isn't brain surgery. We know what we're doing. Let's just keep doing it, and let's do it well. But it wasn't, it was stable.
Okay. And I wonder if that is, like you said, a bit of, part of the world we live in now with social media, that there's not really any room for toxicity. In a sense, I think you'll get found out. It appears to me that people like Leno and Fallon and Kimmel and John Oliver, they foster a real sense of kindness and behind the scenes as well. That could all be a facade, but it seems like a nicer time.
I'd say yes and no. I mean, that list, I know Conan, everyone I know a lot of people that work for or have worked for Conan. But, there are also a lot of people who don't really get the finger pointed at them, but are I mean, look, I worked for Ellen for 3 years.
Yeah.
Was not a lot of fun.
Really?
I got I got a lot out of it. I got a lot out of it, and I enjoyed what I was doing there. Mm-hmm. But she got a bad rap, whether she deserved it or not. That's a different story. But I will say that she certainly wasn't worse than a lot of the guys I worked for.
I bet. And high pressure, hard work too.
And no one said a word about them.
Yeah, it's exactly. Yeah, it's a good point. I had a section here which I'm either going to call BOF, which is big old failure, or BOFU, which would be big old fuck up. But I think you sort of touched on that with the Seinfeld story. But my other question was,
there's more if you want more.
I mean, I'll take another one, but this could be this plays into that. Is not necessarily a huge stuff up or something, but just a moment where you just said, I don't think I can do this anymore. Or maybe was it a creative, what do you call it, a creative block, or exhaustion? I don't know. Has there been a time, maybe there hasn't, where you've just gone, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. I need something easier, or I don't know.
Well, I would say there were moments almost every day when I thought of that. But
to this day,
I think that at least 3 times a day.
Yeah.
Well, I would say I still love. I love being around funny people and creating something is the best thing in the world. And making people laugh, anyone, an audience, or especially other funny people, which is harder to do. But when you really get them, it's the most, it's addictive.
That is the one that you just will refuse to engage. You've seen what we do at Song Division, the guy who just clearly has decided he doesn't want to do this, and then at the end I love that, and you're like, yes.
Oh yeah, absolutely. and that, I mean, and in stand up, I remember sitting and watching the crowd file in on a Friday night, somewhere in Ohio or wherever it was that and thinking, these people forget about laughing. I'll be lucky if they don't make me the victim of a hate crime.
If they're here at the end, not in the car park waiting for me.
Oh, exactly. I mean, but then being able to understanding what I do and being able to go up there and use material that I'd used before and have self-awareness and acknowledge that and get them quickly and keep them. That's still magical to me. Yeah.
There's no better high.
There isn't. And it's a great lesson too, especially as the world becomes more divided, and my country in particular more divided with every passing second. It's no, people, we don't have to do this. There are things we have in common. Yeah. But to your point, a moment when I thought it most often. I can't put my finger on a moment, on an exact moment, but I spent the first part of my career working as a staff writer on shows, and so I would be there for 3 years, 5 years, a few years at a time on shows, because it's all freelance. And then I ended up, the nature of those shows changed, and also I ended up being in a bit of a caregiver role for my parents, and just didn't want to and couldn't work 9 to 9 or 10 to 10 anymore. Yeah. And I started doing a lot more, I would do award shows and things like that. So, or specials, things where it's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 weeks, but then it's over. Okay. And I found I did, because it's a sprint, all those jobs are a sprint. And there was a point where sprinting indefinitely felt a little overwhelming. Sprinting for 5 weeks or 6 weeks, you feel like you can do. Yes. But those jobs, I had time in between those jobs. And in between those jobs is when I started doing a lot more personal speech writing for people. And I did a lot of speech writing for executives. It was how I ended up kind of in the business world, but helping people doing punch-up. I was going to ask you about that. Okay. Well, that's what I was doing for 30 years in those writers' rooms. Yeah, of course. Making the script better is called punch-up. You're making it sharper, giving the jokes more impact, giving the material more impact. But I started doing that with speeches. ghostwriting speeches and then helping executives who were giving conference keynotes or TED Talks or pitches, things like that, just helping them make it tighter, sharper, and adding an emotional element. But that's what I was doing in between the TV jobs. And then I'd get the opportunity to go back to a TV job or go to a project for whatever, 6, 7, 8 weeks. And instead of working between just me and the client, it was now back to, okay, I have to write the pitch, and then it goes to the head writer, who then pitches it to the executive producer, who then pitches it to talent. And it sort of has to go all the way up, and everyone has thoughts on it all the way up, and then it comes all the way down. And sometimes you get, with an award show, it goes out to the talent's publicist.
Oh, gosh.
And boy, there's no one less funny than a publicist. Who is also the gatekeeper for some. It's awful. So just rewriting things that didn't need to be rewritten. So going from really getting a lot of enjoying what I was doing and working one-to-one with very successful people, and helping them get something together, and then going back to where it's this long process where everyone gets to stick their nose in and give you notes on comedy. You go, this is harder than it looks. And the 15th version is not going to be better than
from people
version.
who have no experience in doing it, I guess, by that point. Like you said, publicists. You're getting feedback from people who don't deserve to give the feedback.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, I missed it less each time I didn't do it. And I didn't hate it. I like doing it still because I get to be, you have the bunker mentality. So with, whatever other writers, sometimes there's just one other writer and me or a few of us. And all the people in production, all the people on that side of it, that I still love that team. But going, I found that I kind of like working for myself.
And so is that now where you're at? I know you do the corporate, you've got the keynote, you're still writing for, business leaders, things like that. Is that the majority of your work, or are you still doing writing for any, for TV shows and things like that as well? Or what's your world look like now?
Yeah, there's the occasional TV show that comes along. I mean, I'm able to do it remotely, which is something that the nature of those award shows and things like that. Like big shows during award season. I mean, I've written for the Oscars twice, the Screen Actors Guild Awards 3 times, like big award shows. But the nature of those, even before COVID, was that we could, it was mostly remote until the week of show. So you didn't have to be on site. So whether I'm in somewhere else in LA or whether I'm here in London, it doesn't really matter. Or on the road for work, it doesn't matter. But I would say now it's sort of 80-20 speaking on how to use humor as a tool for connection and impact, and how to use humor as a tool in business. And the other side of that is the one-to-one work I do with that, where I help people who are professional speakers who do the same thing that I do. They speak all the time, but they have the Olympians, the Everest climbers, the race car drivers, the celebrities who get asked to speak. The motivational speakers. I help them refine what they do so that it adds just impact. It's humor, but it's really just humanity. It's helping them add a little bit more storytelling, the sort of things that do get laughs. It's just not cramming in jokes. It's figuring out a way to do it in a way that's authentic to them and organic to the material, and doing the same thing with corporate leaders who are out there pitching or presenting their ideas. And a lot in the leadership space now too, because just being able to communicate in times of change, which is all the time now. But humor is a tool to sort of keep people on side and to communicate with clarity. And because humor is a great way to say things between the lines, and
100%,
and to show people you're a person and you care. I mean, look, we all have our heads down and we're all working, but you can sort of acknowledge the elephant in the room and do a lot in a way that's still respectful and it's not inappropriate. It just, you're telling people, look, telling people between the lines, I see, I know, I feel the same way.
Final last couple of questions. What it does feel like to make it now, and I think in the business world and in creative arts, you do need to wear more hats than maybe you used to. Like you see, so-and-so is an actor, writer, director, producer. Do you feel that? Was that always been the way, or is it, you need to be adaptable now? Obviously, if you start a business, you're a one-man band, so you are the accounts team, you are the sales guy, you're doing everything. That seems like a lot of pressure, but now you don't really see someone, even a celebrity. They're not just actor. They are, they've got their own show on the go, and they're written a book, and they're producing this and directing that. Yeah. Can you speak to that?
There's definitely a lot more pressure to do that. I mean, in TV, the positions that I had, sometimes it would be, you'd get the title writer producer. I mean, in late night, in the shows that I was working on, you got a producer credit, because you didn't just have the idea, you had to write it and you had to execute it. Or I would go, I would take a comedian to the Super Bowl or something like that, and you need to come back with a package of, you need to come back with a piece.
Yeah, I see.
a 4 or 5 minute piece. So we would get a producer credit as well.
Okay.
But now, I think it's like anything else. Everyone's a hybrid.
Yeah.
The reason actors tend to become writers or producers or directors as well is because it's a way to they have the means to do it, and it's a way to instead of waiting around for the phone to ring or for the right part to come, you now, because of what's available to us, is that you can write your own thing and produce your own thing and direct your own thing and get yourself out there, so you don't just have to wait. I think I know for me, I do find it a bit overwhelming. I mean, now I'm running a business, but there are things I'm good at and things I spent 30 years honing.
Yeah.
And that's being funny on stage, on paper, and understanding how to give and take notes and give constructive criticism and help people edit things.
Yeah.
But there are things I'm not good at, like business and tech, that suddenly, because we all suddenly have to, I have to post on LinkedIn. And that means that I have to put up something funny. I can write the funny thing. Oh, okay. I got to produce a little funny video that I can put up there. And I have to, today I have to deal with my CRM. I didn't know what the word the acronym CRM even stood for a few years ago, and I think I was happier, but
it was a better time.
It was a simpler time. So all those sorts of things, and you got to have the newsletter because you got to stay top of mind, and that means but you got to have
social
the
media.
Newsletter.
That's a big one, isn't it? Like it's to do it well. What is it? Consistent, regular. Boom, 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 and that is difficult in itself to find the content, curate the content. Have it ready to go. Have it ready to go on different platforms because a different post won't work. I enjoy LinkedIn. I don't really touch any other social media because one's enough, and who's got the time? But I appreciate that, especially in some industries, that's really important to be across all of them. As look at things like TikTok now. I've touched wood. I don't think that's something I necessarily need to be in that world for corporate emceeing, but that will change, I'm sure. But you need to wear all the hats all the time, and I feel like you. I think I'm good at 2 or 3 things, but you need to be good at all of them on a certain level, or have someone that can do it for you.
Well, exactly. But until you sort of have enough income to get someone to do it for you, and honestly, even when you do, I mean, I'm kind of a snob about this stuff, but look, no one cares as much about our stuff as we do.
That's a really good point. And also, no one cares if you don't post.
There's that too. Yeah, there's that too. And I think it's all a process of figuring out what to prioritize. I tried to do a bunch of different platforms, and then I got some good advice, which was, look, do one thing well. And I thought, that's great advice. Let me dive fully into what's the platform that is most relevant to the sort of work you're trying to get or the profile you're trying to build. Lean into that, get good at that. And then
Yeah.
if you have to, worry about other stuff or get someone else to take that stuff that you have figured out how to do well and get them to just repackage it.
Hey, we should have wrapped it up, but I do want to play my little game with you. I've got 25 words here, which I've I believe, attributes and characteristics that might be required to make it in the professional creative world. And I just want you to firstly give a score, a 1 out of 10, how important you think this may or may not be. I'm going to pick one at random here. High production stuff here. Here we go. Ooh, outside investment. Now, this one I was more towards business owners and entrepreneurs, but I'd like to know what you think. 1 to 10, how important is outside financial investment to make it as a creative artist?
Well, I mean, in my experience, the only outside investment was my parents said, well, pay for college and then you better,
if
that's
you do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Once you move out, you don't move back. I mean, they weren't going to let me be homeless, but the deal is we pay for college, university, we pay for it. And then
you do what you want, but it's on you.
If you want to major in philosophy or, basket weaving or comedy or whatever it is that you TV, whatever it is, that's great. Go for it. But just the support ends after you get your degree. So,
yeah. Okay. So not, let's put that in the low end of the scale. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say low. It's
like you said, these days as well. Yeah. And with technology and these days, because I think for me personally, I think my first EP I did with my band was my grandma's inheritance money, which I never made back. And then, some label support, but you can do anything now and create art and content for much cheaper than you could 20 years ago. So that's probably changed a lot. Let's do a couple more.
And you can go get a job and work. I mean, I had in between those jobs that I had, there were times when the phone wasn't ringing before I was doing my own stuff. There were times, and especially early on, and I had to temp or do some office jobs. It's, no one owes you the chance to be creative.
No one owes you anything. Oh, that's a good little takeaway. Good segue. Next one was hustle. How important is hustle?
That's 14 out of 10. 14
out of 10. It is. It's constant, isn't it? It's just keep going. And how do you define hustle? Because there's different ways, I guess. It's not about hustling people, is it? It's about hustle, energy, and getting out there. And how would you define hustle?
Yeah, I would just say just keep swimming. Just keep swimming. Keep swimming. It's sort of I think of things now as even though I'm a city kid, but I think of things now as it's sort of you're just planting seeds. Everything you do, plant seeds, and some crops grow quickly, and some take a few years, and some don't grow or some die. But that's what said. It's almost like it makes it a numbers game. Hustling. Yeah. So it doesn't have to be, you don't have to go 100 miles an hour 100% of the time. But look, meet people, talk to people, figure out what you're doing. I mean, look, do a podcast. If someone asks you to do a podcast and you have the time to do the podcast, do it.
Even if you really, really don't want to.
This is excruciating. You can tell how much I hate talking about myself.
I appreciate it. Beth, it's been incredible. Thank you so much for your insights, your experience, your stories, your recommendations, which I'm looking forward to checking out. Wishing you every success, not that I need to, but how can people get in contact if they would love to work with you or your support or book you?
They can find me on LinkedIn, even though I've insulted LinkedIn and social media throughout the podcast. But they can find me please find me there. They can find me on LinkedIn under my own name, Beth Sherman. And then if you want to find the website about working together one-to-one or booking me to speak or do some training to show your team how to communicate with clarity, but in a real funny way, that is the very cleverly named website, bethsherman.com.
Shermy, thank you. Thank you so much. It's been amazing. I really appreciate your time and I hope to see you soon.
I would love to. Thanks for having me.
Bye for now.
1, 2, 3, 4. You piece of Look, Mom, I'm failing. Look, Mom, I'm failing. Look, Mom, I'm failing. Hurry up and watch me fall.